She was walking home from her third job when she heard it, a desperate cry coming from the abandoned railway tracks. What Naomi Clark found that foggy morning would change her life forever. A bloodied millionaire tied to the rails, seconds away from death. She didn't know that saving Ethan Ward would put a target on her back, or that the people hunting him were closer than either of them realized. His fiancée's tears on the evening news looked so real, so devastated. But Naomi knew the truth, and that truth was about to get her killed. What started as a simple rescue turned into a dangerous game of survival, where trust was a luxury and love was the most reckless choice of all. By the time they returned to those same train tracks 6 months later, everything had changed. But you won't believe how they got there. Subscribe right now and comment where you're watching from, because this story of betrayal, survival, and unexpected love will have you holding your breath until the very last moment. The mist hung low over the abandoned railway tracks like a thick blanket. Naomi Clark pulled her worn jacket tighter against the morning chill. Her feet ached. She'd been cleaning Mrs. Keller's inn since 4 in the morning, and now the sun was just starting to peek through the trees. The walk home always took her past these old tracks. Nobody used them anymore. The train stopped running through here years ago, or so she thought. Naomi hummed softly to herself, trying to shake off the tiredness in her bones. 27 years old, and some days she felt twice that age. Her mama always said hard work built character. Naomi figured she had enough character by now. That's when she heard it. A sound, faint, almost like a whisper carried on the wind. She stopped walking. Her heart picked up speed. There it was again, a cry, weak and desperate. Help! Naomi's breath caught in her throat. She looked around, scanning the empty landscape. Nothing but trees and fog and those rusty old tracks stretching into the distance. Please, someone... The voice came from near the tracks. Naomi's feet moved before her mind could catch up. She ran toward the sound, her sneakers crunching on the gravel. What she saw made her blood run cold. A man, tied to the railway tracks. His wrists were bound with thick rope to the rails, his ankles too. Blood stained his white shirt, now torn and dirty. His face was bruised, swollen, one eye nearly shut from the beating he'd taken. Oh my God, Naomi breathed. The man's good eye focused on her. Hope flickered there, mixed with pain. Help me, he rasped. Please. Naomi dropped to her knees beside him. Her hands shook as she pulled at the ropes. They were tied tight, too tight. Who did this to you, she asked, her fingers working frantically at the knots. No time, the man said. His voice was hoarse, educated. The train, I heard it earlier. It's coming back. Naomi's heart hammered against her ribs. There's no trains on this line anymore. They stopped running. A sound in the distance cut her off, low and rumbling, growing louder. A whistle pierced the morning air. Oh no, oh no. Oh no! Naomi's voice rose in panic. She pulled harder at the ropes, her nails breaking against the rough fiber. I can't get them loose! The rumbling grew louder. The tracks began to vibrate beneath her hands. There's a knife, the man said quickly. My pocket, right side. Naomi's hands dove into his pocket. She found a small pocket knife and yanked it out. Her fingers fumbled with it, nearly dropping it twice before she got the blade open. The train whistle blew again, closer now. So close. She sawed at the rope binding his right wrist. The blade was dull, the rope was thick. Sweat poured down her face despite the cool morning air. Come on, she muttered. The rope snapped. His right hand came free. The train appeared around the bend. A freight train, rusty and massive, barreling down the tracks faster than she thought possible. Naomi moved to his left wrist. Her hands were slick with sweat. The train bore down on them, its horn blasting. Go! The man shouted. Save yourself! Shut up! Naomi sawed frantically at the second rope. The ground shook. The train was seconds away. The rope gave way. Naomi dropped the knife and grabbed the man under his arms. She pulled with strength she didn't know she had. He tried to help, kicking at the rope still holding his ankles. The knots were loosening from her cuts. The train was right there. Right there. She yanked him. He kicked free. They rolled away from the tracks just as the freight train screamed past. So close the wind from it whipped Naomi's hair across her face. They tumbled down the embankment, rocks and dirt scraping their skin. Naomi's shoulder hit something hard. Pain shot through her arm. But they were moving, away from the tracks, away from death. They came to a stop at the bottom of the slope. The train thundered past above them, car after car after car, the sound deafening. Naomi lay on her back, gasping for air. Her whole body trembled. Her heart felt like it might explode. The man lay beside her, unconscious. Blood seeped from a fresh cut on his forehead. but he was breathing. They were both breathing. The train's whistle faded into the distance. The rumbling grew quieter, quieter. Gone. Naomi turned her head to look at the stranger she'd just saved. Who was he? And who had tried to kill him? More importantly, were they coming back to finish the job? Naomi couldn't take the man to a hospital. Something in her gut told her that would be wrong. Dangerous even. Someone had tied him to those tracks. Someone who wanted him dead. If she took him to the hospital, whoever did this might find him. So she did the only thing she could think of. She dragged him to the old shed near the woods. The same shed where she used to play as a kid. It was hidden behind overgrown bushes and nobody came out here anymore. Getting him there took all her strength. He was tall, maybe 6 feet, and solid muscle despite his injuries. She had to stop 3 times to catch her breath. Inside the shed, dust particles danced in the strips of sunlight coming through the broken boards. It smelled like earth and old wood, but it was dry, safe. Naomi laid him down on a pile of burlap sacks in the corner. She ran back to the stream nearby and filled an old bucket with water. Found some rags in the shed. Dirty but better than nothing. She cleaned his wounds as gently as she could. The cut on his forehead needed stitches, but she couldn't do that. She did her best with what she had. His face was handsome under all the bruises. Strong jaw, dark hair, white skin now pale from blood loss. He wore expensive clothes. She could tell even though they were ruined. The fabric of his shirt was quality. His watch, still on his wrist, looked like it cost more than her car. This was a rich man, a very rich man. What had he done to make someone want to kill him? Naomi wrung out the rag and wiped more blood from his temple. Her hands were steadier now. The shock was wearing off, replaced by a strange calm. She'd saved a life today. Her mama would be proud. The man stirred. A groan escaped his lips. Naomi pulled back, her heart rate jumping. She clutched the wet rag like a weapon. His eyes opened. Both of them this time, though one was still swollen. He looked around, confused, disoriented. Then his gaze landed on her. He scrambled backward, away from her, until his back hit the wall of the shed. Pain flashed across his face, but he ignored it. "Who are you?" His voice was sharp, afraid. "What do you want?" Hey, it's okay," Naomi said, holding up her hands. "I'm the one who saved you. Remember? The tracks?" His chest heaved. He looked wild, trapped. "You're with them. You have to be. This is just another—" "I'm not with anybody!" Naomi's voice rose. "I found you tied to those train tracks, and I saved your life. You're welcome, by the way." He stared at her, his eyes searching her face for something. Truth? Lies? She didn't know. "The train," he said slowly. It came, and I got you off the tracks about 2 seconds before it turned you into paste." He looked down at his wrists. The rope burns were angry and red. His hands started shaking. "I don't—" He pressed his palms against his eyes. "I don't understand. Why would you save me? You don't know me." "Because you're a human being and you were about to die." Naomi's voice softened. "Look, I don't know what kind of trouble you're in, and I don't need to know. I just couldn't leave you there." He lowered his hands, looked at her again. Really looked this time. "Who are you?" "Naomi. Naomi Clark. Ethan," he said quietly. Then he winced, like saying his own name hurt. "I'm Ethan Ward." The name meant nothing to Naomi. She didn't run in circles where she'd know millionaires by name. "Okay, Ethan. Can you tell me who did this to you?" His expression changed, hardened. "I don't know. I can't remember. Everything's foggy." He was lying. She could tell, but she didn't push. "You need a doctor," she said instead. "No." The word came out fast and sharp. "No doctors, no hospitals, no police. You could have internal bleeding, a concussion. I need to stay hidden." He tried to stand up and immediately swayed. Naomi rushed forward to steady him. He flinched at her touch, but didn't pull away. "They'll come looking, and if they find me—" He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. "Then you need to rest," Naomi said firmly. "You can barely stand. You won't get far like this." Ethan's jaw clenched. She could see him fighting between pride and common sense. Common sense won. He nodded and let her help him back down to the burlap sacks. "Just for a few hours," he said. His eyes were already closing. "Then I have to go. Have to warn." His voice trailed off. Within seconds, he was unconscious again. Naomi sat back on her heels and let out a long breath. What had she gotten herself into? She looked down at this stranger, this Ethan Ward, and felt something shift in her chest. He was in trouble, bad trouble. And for reasons she couldn't explain, she wasn't going to walk away. Night fell around the shed like a curtain. Naomi had gone home just long enough to grab some supplies, food, water, a blanket. She told her brother Daniel she was helping Mrs. Keller with an overnight cleaning job. He didn't question it. Now she sat beside Ethan in the darkness, a small camping lantern casting shadows on the walls. He'd woken twice, once to drink some water, once to ask where he was. Both times he looked at her with confusion, like he couldn't quite believe she was real. "You're still here," he'd said the second time. "Where else would I be?" He didn't answer, just closed his eyes and drifted off again. Now it was past midnight. The woods outside were alive with night sounds. Crickets, frogs, the distant hoot of an owl. Naomi pulled the blanket tighter around her shoulders. She should be scared, probably. A woman alone in the woods with a strange man, who clearly had people trying to kill him. But she wasn't. Maybe that made her foolish. Or maybe she'd just learned to trust her gut. And her gut said Ethan Ward wasn't dangerous. Not to her, anyway. She watched him sleep. His breathing was steady now. The color had come back to his face a little. He'd live, as long as whoever did this didn't find him first. "You're safe," she whispered into the darkness. For now. The lantern flickered. Naomi leaned back against the wall and closed her eyes. Just for a minute, just to rest. Dawn crept through the cracks in the shed walls. Naomi woke with a start, her neck stiff from sleeping, sitting up. Ethan was awake. He sat across from her, watching her with those careful eyes. "Morning," he said. His voice was stronger today. "Morning." Naomi stretched, wincing at the pain in her shoulder. "How do you feel?" "Like I got beat up and tied to train tracks." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "So better than yesterday." She couldn't help but smile back. "That's the spirit." They sat in awkward silence for a moment. The morning birds sang outside. Light filtered through the shed, golden and new. "I owe you my life," Ethan said finally. "Thank you doesn't seem like enough, but thank you." Naomi shook her head. "You don't owe me anything. I do, and I will repay you. Once I get out of this mess, I'll make sure you're taken care of. Money. Whatever you need." Something about the way he said it rubbed Naomi the wrong way. Like he could just buy his way out of debt. Like money solved everything. "I don't want your money," she said coolly. "I saved you because it was the right thing to do. Not because I wanted a reward." Ethan blinked. "I didn't mean to offend you, I know what you meant." Naomi stood up, brushing dirt from her jeans. "But we need to figure out what to do with you. You can't stay in this shed forever." "You're right." Ethan tried to stand. This time he made it, though he swayed a bit. "I need to get somewhere safe, make some calls, figure out who I can trust." "You said you couldn't remember who did this." His expression shuddered. "It's coming back. Pieces. Another lie. Or maybe a half-truth." Naomi let it go. "There's an old farmhouse about 2 miles from here," she said. "I clean it sometimes. The owners only come out in the summer. It's empty now. You think we can make it there?" "We? I don't remember signing up for we." Ethan looked at her steadily. "If they saw you save me, you're in danger too. They won't leave witnesses." The words sent a chill down Naomi's spine. She hadn't thought of that, hadn't let herself think of it. "No one saw me," she said, but doubt crept into her voice. "Are you sure?" She wasn't. She couldn't be. "Fine," Naomi said. "We go to the farmhouse, get you cleaned up properly. Then you figure out your next move and I go back to my life. Deal?" "Deal." They shook on it. His hand was warm and surprisingly gentle for someone who'd just been through hell. The walk to the farmhouse took longer than Naomi expected. Ethan was stronger than yesterday, but his injuries slowed him down. She let him lean on her when he needed to, and tried not to notice how solid he felt against her side. The farmhouse appeared through the trees like something from a painting. White clapboard siding, green shutters, a wraparound porch. It looked peaceful, safe. "This way," Naomi said, leading him around back. She knew where the spare key was hidden, under the third flower pot on the back steps. Inside, the house smelled like dust and lemon cleaner. Naomi's cleaner. She'd been here just last week, making sure everything was ready in case the owners decided to visit early. "The cellar," she said. "Safest place." The cellar door was in the kitchen. Stone steps led down into cool darkness. Naomi flipped the light switch and a bare bulb flickered to life. It wasn't fancy, but it was dry and hidden. Old furniture covered in sheets, boxes of Christmas decorations, and in the corner, an old daybed that the owners kept down here. "Home sweet home," Naomi said, trying for humor. Ethan looked around and then at her. "You're really going to all this trouble for me?" "Why?" The question caught her off guard. She thought about it for a moment, about her mama's voice in her head. about the way she'd been raised, about the simple truth that people needed people, and turning your back on someone in need wasn't something she could do. Because nobody should have to face trouble alone, she said simply. Something in Ethan's expression softened. I'm starting to believe I don't deserve you, Naomi Clark. You probably don't, she said with a small smile. Now sit down before you fall down. I'll see if there's a first aid kit around here somewhere. She found one in the upstairs bathroom, brought it down along with some bottled water from the pantry and crackers that were probably stale but edible. Ethan had made himself as comfortable as possible on the daybed. He'd taken off his ruined shirt, and Naomi tried not to stare at the bruises covering his chest and ribs, dark purple and yellow. Angry. This is going to hurt, she warned, opening the first aid kit. Can't hurt worse than getting beat up in the first place. She cleaned the deeper cuts with antiseptic. He hissed through his teeth but didn't complain. She bandaged what she could. Her hands were gentle but efficient. She'd done this before. Patched up her brother after fights. Tended to her mama when she got sick. You're good at this, Ethan said quietly. I've had practice. Family. Brother. He likes to think he's tougher than he is. What about your parents? Naomi's hands paused for just a second. Mama passed 3 years ago. Cancer. Never knew my daddy. I'm sorry. Don't be. We had good years together. She taught me everything that matters. Ethan watched her finish bandaging a cut on his shoulder. Like how to save stubborn rich guys who won't go to the hospital? Naomi laughed despite herself. Exactly like that. When she was done, she sat back and looked at her work. Not perfect, but better. Now, she said, are you going to tell me the truth about what happened? Ethan was quiet for a long time, so long she thought he might not answer at all. Then he started talking. My name is Ethan Ward. I was, a developer. Real estate. I made millions buying land and building commercial properties, shopping centers, office buildings, that kind of thing. He paused, his jaw working like the words were hard to get out. I had a partner, Marcus Hale. He started as my head of security but became more than that, a friend, or so I thought, and I was engaged to a woman named Lena. Beautiful, smart. Everyone said we were perfect together. Naomi heard the bitterness in his voice. 2 nights ago, I found out they were stealing from me, millions, funneling money from my company into offshore accounts. I confronted Marcus, told him I was going to the police. He smiled at me, smiled, and then his guys jumped me. Ethan's hand went unconsciously to his ribs. They beat me, threw me in a van, drove me out to those tracks. Marcus said they were going to make it look like an accident, a tragic suicide, the heartbroken billionaire who couldn't handle the pressure. Oh my God, Naomi breathed. He said Lena would give a beautiful eulogy at my funeral. Then they'd take over the company together, live off everything I built. That's... Naomi couldn't find words horrible enough. I know. I trusted them, both of them, and they tried to kill me for it. They sat in the heavy silence that followed. Naomi's mind raced. This wasn't just some random attack. This was planned, calculated, cold-blooded. You were going to tell me this eventually, right? She asked. Not just let me walk blindly into danger. Ethan met her eyes. I was going to tell you as soon as I could. I needed you to understand what you're dealing with. These people won't stop. They can't afford to. If I'm alive, I can expose them. Destroy them. They'll do whatever it takes to make sure that doesn't happen. Including killing a random maid who happened to be in the wrong place at the right time. Yes. Naomi stood up and paced the small cellar. Her mind worked through the implications. She could run, disappear, hope they never found out she was involved, or she could stay, help this man who'd been betrayed by everyone he trusted. It shouldn't have been a hard choice. The smart choice was obvious. But Naomi Clark had never been accused of being overly smart when it came to doing the right thing. Okay, she said, turning back to him. We need a plan. You said it yourself. I'm already involved. Might as well see it through. Ethan shook his head. I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. Now shut up and let me think. The corners of his mouth twitched up. Yes, ma'am. A sound from upstairs froze them both. Footsteps. Heavy. On the porch. Then a voice muffled but distinct. Check around back. He's got to be somewhere. Naomi's blood ran cold. She looked at Ethan. His face had gone pale. It's Marcus, he whispered. I'd know that voice anywhere. The footsteps moved across the porch, heading for the back door, heading right for them. Naomi grabbed Ethan's arm. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it might break through her chest. The footsteps grew louder, closer. The crates, Ethan whispered, pointing to a stack of old wooden boxes in the far corner. They moved quickly but quietly. Every sound felt too loud. Naomi's sneakers on the stone floor, Ethan's ragged breathing, the rustle of their clothes. They squeezed behind the crates just as the cellar door creaked open at the top of the stairs. Light spilled down from the kitchen. A shadow fell across the steps. "Anything down there?" A different voice, younger, nervous. "I'll check." That was Marcus. His footsteps descended the stairs, slow, deliberate, like he had all the time in the world. Naomi pressed herself against the cold stone wall. Ethan was right beside her, so close she could feel the heat of his body. His hand found hers in the darkness and squeezed. A silent promise. "We'll get through this." Marcus reached the bottom of the stairs. His boots echoed on the floor. Naomi could see his shadow through the gaps in the crates. Tall, broad-shouldered, moving methodically through the cellar. He was searching, really searching. "Just old junk," Marcus called up the stairs. But he didn't leave. He kept looking. Naomi held her breath. "Don't move. Don't breathe. Don't exist." Marcus walked past their hiding spot, so close she could smell his cologne. Expensive. Strong. It made her want to cough, but she forced it down. He stopped, right in front of the crates. Naomi's fingernails dug into Ethan's palm. This was it. They were caught. Then a phone rang upstairs, loud and shrill. "Marcus," the younger man called. "It's her, Lena." Marcus cursed under his breath. His footsteps retreated, back to the stairs, up, gone. The cellar door closed. Darkness swallowed them again. Naomi sagged against the wall. Her legs felt like water. Ethan pulled her close, his arms wrapping around her. They stood like that for a long moment, just breathing, just alive. "We have to go," Ethan whispered against her hair. "Now, before they come back." "There's a root cellar exit," Naomi said. "Old coal chute. Leads outside, away from the house." "Show me." They crept across the cellar floor. Naomi found the small door in the corner, hidden behind more boxes. It was rusted shut. Ethan helped her force it open. The hinges screamed in protest. "Go, go, go," Ethan urged. Naomi crawled through first. The chute was narrow and dirty. Cobwebs caught in her hair. She emerged into the bushes behind the house, gasping fresh air. Ethan came out behind her. They crouched in the undergrowth, listening. Voices drifted from inside the house. Marcus and the other man, still searching, still hunting. "The woods," Naomi breathed. "Follow me." They ran. The forest swallowed them. Dense trees and thick underbrush. Naomi knew these woods like the back of her hand. She'd played here as a kid, explored every trail, every shortcut. Behind them, voices shouted. A truck engine roared to life. "They know we were there," Ethan panted as they ran. "They're coming. This way." Naomi grabbed his hand and pulled him off the path, through the thick bushes, across a narrow stream. The water was cold and sharp against her ankles. They pushed deeper into the woods. Branches whipped at their faces. Thorns caught their clothes. But they kept moving. The sun climbed higher. The day grew warm. Sweat soaked through Naomi's shirt. Ethan's bandages were coming loose. Blood seeped through the white gauze on his shoulder. "We need to stop," Naomi said. "You're bleeding again." "Can't stop." "Not yet." But his face was pale. His steps were slowing. Naomi made the decision for both of them. She pulled him toward a thick grove of pine trees. The branches hung low, creating a natural shelter. They crawled underneath. Inside, it was cool and dim. The pine needles made a soft carpet. The branches hid them from view. They collapsed against the trunk of the largest tree, both gasping for air, both covered in dirt and scratches. "Let me see," Naomi said, reaching for his shoulder. Ethan didn't fight her. She peeled back the bandage. The wound had opened again. Not deep, but bleeding steadily. "I don't have anything to fix this," she said helplessly. "It's okay." Ethan pressed his palm against the wound. "I've had worse." "When? When have you had worse than being beat up and tied to train tracks?" He gave her a tired smile. "Fair point." They sat in silence for a while, listening. But the woods were quiet now. No voices, no footsteps, just birds and wind and the distant babble of water. "I'm sorry," Ethan said finally, "for dragging you into this. You didn't drag me anywhere. I chose to help you. Still, this isn't your fight." Naomi looked at him, really looked. His face was bruised and exhausted. His expensive clothes were ruined, but his eyes were clear, honest. He wasn't some rich jerk who thought the world owed him something. He was just a man who'd been betrayed, a man trying to survive. "Maybe it is my fight now," she said quietly. Someone tries to kill you in my town on my tracks. That makes it personal. Something shifted in Ethan's expression, softened. You're something else, Naomi Clark. So I've been told. A comfortable silence fell between them, the kind that felt easy. Natural, like they'd known each other longer than 2 days. Tell me about you, Ethan said. Your life, before you rescued millionaires from train tracks. Naomi laughed softly. Not much to tell. Grew up here. Small town girl. Work 3 jobs to make ends meet. Take care of my brother when he lets me. 3 jobs? Cleaning houses, waitressing at the diner. Sometimes I help out at the library on weekends. She shrugged. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work. Honest work is worth more than you think. Ethan's voice was sad. I built an empire and filled it with people who lied to me every day. Maybe I should have surrounded myself with people who knew the value of honest work. It's not too late to change that, assuming I survive long enough to have that choice. Naomi reached over and gripped his wrist, the same way he'd gripped hers in the cellar. A silent promise. You will. We will. His hand turned, fingers lacing through hers. I'm starting to believe you. The afternoon wore on. They dozed fitfully under the pine branches. When the sun started to sink toward the horizon, painting the sky orange and pink, Naomi shook Ethan awake. We should move, she said. Find better shelter before dark. They emerged from the grove carefully. The woods were painted in golden light, beautiful and dangerous at the same time. Naomi led them along paths only she knew, away from the roads, away from anywhere Marcus might look, toward the old part of town where nobody went anymore. The moon was rising when they finally stopped. A small building stood in a clearing. Once upon a time, it had been a general store. Now it was just a shell, boarded up and forgotten. Nobody comes here, Naomi said. We'll be safe tonight. Inside, the store was empty except for an old counter and some broken shelves. But it had a roof, 4 walls. It would do. They made a bed from their jackets in the corner, sat side by side, backs against the wall. Thank you, Ethan said into the darkness, for everything. You already thanked me. I'll probably thank you 100 more times before this is over. Naomi smiled. I'll try not to let it go to my head. They fell silent. Outside, the night sounds grew louder. Crickets, frogs, the distant howl of a coyote. Ethan's breathing evened out. His head drooped toward her shoulder. Naomi let him rest there, let herself feel the weight of him, the warmth. She looked up at the broken roof, at the stars peeking through the gaps. Her mama's voice whispered in her memory. The Lord puts people in our path for a reason, baby girl. Sometimes we're meant to help. Sometimes we're meant to be helped. Sometimes both. Maybe both, Naomi whispered to the stars. Then she closed her eyes and let sleep take her. Morning brought harsh reality. Naomi woke to find Ethan already awake, staring at the wall with haunted eyes. Bad dreams? She asked softly. Memories. Worse than dreams. She sat up, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Her back ached from the hard floor. Her clothes were filthy. She probably smelled terrible. We can't keep running like this, Ethan said. We need help, a plan. I know someone, Naomi said slowly. Mrs. Keller. She owns the inn where I work. She's good people. Doesn't ask too many questions. Can you trust her? With my life? Ethan looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, let's try. They walked into town just after dawn. Naomi kept them to the back streets, the alleys, places where security cameras didn't reach. The inn sat on the edge of town, a modest building, clean and welcoming, Mrs. Keller's pride and joy. Naomi knocked on the back door, the kitchen door, where staff entered. Mrs. Keller opened it herself. She was 50-something, gray hair pulled back in a bun, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Those eyes widened when she saw Naomi. Child, where have you been? You missed 2 shifts. I was about to call your brother. I'm sorry, Mrs. Keller. I need help. We need help. Mrs. Keller's gaze moved to Ethan, took in his bruised face, his bandaged shoulder, his expensive torn clothes. Her expression didn't change, just nodded once. Come in quickly. She led them upstairs to a small guest room, clean sheets, a real bed, a bathroom with running water. It looked like heaven. Stay here, Mrs. Keller said. Don't leave this room. I'll bring food. Mrs. Keller, Naomi started. I don't need to know, child. I can see trouble when it walks through my door. I can also see goodness. She looked at Ethan. You hurt that girl and I'll gut you myself. Understood? Understood, Ethan said seriously. Mrs. Keller left, came back 20 minutes later with a tray of food, eggs, toast, coffee, orange juice. Naomi almost cried at the sight of it. "You have 2 nights," Mrs. Keller said. "After that, my weekend guests arrive and I can't hide you. Use the time wisely." "Thank you," Naomi said. "Thank you so much." Mrs. Keller patted her cheek. "Your mama saved my life once. When my husband died and I was drowning in grief, she pulled me back from the edge. I owed her everything. Now I pay that debt to her daughter." She left them alone. They ate in silence. The food was simple, but delicious. Real. The coffee was hot and strong. After, Ethan insisted Naomi shower first. She stood under the hot water for a long time, washing away dirt and fear and exhaustion. When she came out, wrapped in a towel with her hair dripping, Ethan was staring out the window. "What do you see?" she asked. "Nothing. That's what worries me. Marcus is smart, patient. He's out there somewhere, planning, waiting. Then we'll be smarter, more patient." Ethan turned to look at her. Something in his gaze made her breath catch. It wasn't just gratitude anymore. It was something deeper, something that scared her a little. "Your turn," she said quickly, gesturing to the bathroom. "You smell like a gym sock." He laughed, actually laughed. The sound was rusty, like he hadn't done it in a long time, but it was real. While he showered, Naomi borrowed clean clothes from Mrs. Keller's Lost and Found, jeans that were too big, a t-shirt that said, "I survived the county fair," better than what she had. She found clothes for Ethan too, work shirt, cargo pants, regular guy clothes. Not the expensive designer stuff he was used to. When he came out of the bathroom, cleaned up and bandaged properly, Naomi's heart did a strange little flip. He was handsome. She'd noticed before, in an abstract way. But now, with the worst of the dirt and blood gone, she really saw him. Strong jaw, grey-blue eyes, dark hair that curled when it was wet. And when he smiled at her, tentative and grateful, she felt something shift inside her chest. No, not now, not with him. This was dangerous enough without adding feelings to the mix. "Much better," she said, keeping her voice light. "Now you only smell like regular soap instead of expensive soap. Trying to downgrade me, Naomi? Trying to keep you alive. Rich boy cologne is too noticeable." He sat on the edge of the bed, winced as his ribs protested. "Come here." She hesitated, then sat beside him. Not too close, but close enough. "I need to tell you something," Ethan said, "about what happens next." "Okay. I have money, hidden money. Accounts Marcus doesn't know about. I was paranoid even before I knew I should be. Smart paranoid." He looked at his hands. "If we can get to a computer, I can access them. Get us cash. Fake IDs if we need them. We can disappear. Both of us. Both of us. I told you they saw you save me, or they'll figure it out soon enough. You can't go back to your normal life, not safely." The words hit Naomi like cold water. Her life, her home, her brother, Daniel. "I can't just leave," she said. "My brother needs me. He will be safer if you're gone. If they think you know something, they'll use him to get to you." Naomi stood up, pacing the small room. Her mind raced. Everything she knew, everything she had, gone, because she'd done the right thing. "Hey," Ethan stood too, catching her hand. "I'm sorry. I know this isn't fair. None of this is fair, but I'll take care of you. I promise. You'll never have to work 3 jobs again. You'll never have to worry about money. I owe you everything." She pulled her hand away. "I told you I don't want your money." "Then what do you want?" The question hung in the air between them. Heavy, important. "I want my life back," Naomi said quietly. "I want to go home and clean houses and serve coffee and help kids find books. I want normal, simple, safe. I want that too, more than you know. But we can't have it. Not yet. Not until Marcus is stopped. And how do we stop him? He's got money, power, people working for him. We expose him, get evidence, go to the police with something they can't ignore." "What evidence?" Ethan thought for a moment. "My office. There's a safe, documents, paper trails. If I can get to them, that's suicide. He'll have people watching your office. Then we get creative." They spent the rest of the day planning, talking, working through possibilities. The room felt smaller as the hours passed, more intimate. Naomi found herself noticing things, the way Ethan's brow furrowed when he concentrated, the gentleness in his hands when he accidentally brushed against her, the way he listened to her ideas like they mattered, like she mattered. This was dangerous, more dangerous than Marcus, because feelings made you stupid, made you vulnerable. But when night fell and they lay on opposite sides of the bed, careful not to touch, Naomi couldn't ignore the truth anymore. She cared about him, about this stranger she'd saved. about this broken man trying to put himself back together, and that scared her more than all the guns and threats in the world. The fever came in the night. Naomi woke to the sound of Ethan thrashing beside her. She reached over, and her hand met skin that burned like fire. "No," he muttered. "Please, not the tracks. Not again." "Ethan." She shook his shoulder gently. "Ethan, wake up." His eyes opened, glassy and unfocused. "Naomi, I'm here. You're burning up." She ran to the bathroom, soaked towels in cold water, came back and pressed them to his forehead, his chest, his wrists. "Infection," she said, "from the wounds. We need antibiotics." "No doctors," he said through chattering teeth. "Can't. They'll find—" "Shh. Okay. No doctors, but we need medicine." She ran downstairs, found Mrs. Keller in the kitchen baking bread for the morning guests. "Fever," Naomi said breathlessly. "He needs antibiotics. Do you have anything, Mrs.?" Keller moved quickly. She produced a bottle of pills. "Left over from when I had bronchitis. Might help, might not. But it's all I've got." Naomi grabbed them gratefully and ran back upstairs. She got 2 pills down Ethan's throat with water, changed the cold compresses, sat beside him as he shivered and sweated. "Don't you dare die on me," she whispered fiercely. "Not after everything. You hear me, Ethan Ward? Don't you dare." His hand found hers, held tight. "Stay," he mumbled. "Please stay. I'm not going anywhere." She meant it. God help her, she meant it. The night stretched long and terrible. Naomi dozed in fits and starts, waking every few minutes to check his temperature, to change the compresses, to make sure he was still breathing. Dawn came grey and cold, but Ethan's fever broke. He opened his eyes, clearer now, saw her sitting beside him, exhausted and worried. "You stayed," he said softly. "I told you I would. You keep saving me. Someone has to." She tried to smile, but her face felt too tired. "How do you feel?" "Like death, warmed over but alive." He squeezed her hand. "Thanks to you. The pills did the work." "No, you did. You always do." Something passed between them then. A moment, an understanding. Naomi pulled her hand away gently, stood up. "I should let Mrs. Keller know you're better." "Naomi." She stopped at the door, didn't turn around. "I'm starting to feel things I shouldn't," Ethan said quietly. "For you. And I know that's not fair. I know I've got no right. But I need you to know, just in case." Her heart hammered. "In case what?" "In case we don't make it through this." Naomi turned then, looked at him, really looked, at the vulnerability in his eyes, the honesty. "We'll make it through," she said firmly. "Both of us. And then you can tell me all that again when we're not running for our lives." A smile ghosted across his face. "Is that a promise?" "It's a fact." She left before he could say anything else, before she could say something stupid, something true. In the hallway she leaned against the wall and pressed her hands to her face. This was bad. This was so bad, because she felt it too. Those things he mentioned, those dangerous, beautiful, terrifying things, and there was no taking them back now. Mrs. Keller knocked softly on the door that afternoon. "You need to go," she said, her voice kind but firm. "My weekend guests just called. They're coming early tonight." Naomi's stomach dropped. "We understand. Thank you for everything. Take this." Mrs. Keller pressed money into Naomi's hand, $200 in worn bills. "It's not much, but it'll help. We can't. You can and you will. Your mama would haunt me if I let you go without help." Mrs. Keller's eyes were damp. "Be safe, child." They left through the back door as the sun started to set. Ethan moved better now. The fever had taken something out of him, but the antibiotics were working. The worst wounds were healing. "Where do we go?" he asked. "I have an idea." They walked to the edge of town where the highway cut through. Naomi stuck out her thumb. 3 cars passed before an old pickup truck stopped. The driver was ancient, wrinkled like a raisin, and half-deaf. Perfect. He took them 20 miles north without asking questions, just nodded and smiled, and hummed along to country music on the radio. When he dropped them off at a crossroads, Naomi spotted what she was looking for, a small motel, the kind with peeling paint and a neon sign that said vacancy in flickering letters. Route 6 Motel, Ethan read. Looks charming. It looks anonymous. That's better than charming. They paid cash for a room. The clerk barely looked at them, just handed over a key attached to a piece of wood with the number 7 painted on it. The room was small, 1 bed, a TV older than Naomi, a bathroom with rust stains in the sink, but it was clean enough and it had a lock on the door. "I'll sleep on the floor," Ethan said immediately. Don't be stupid, we're both adults. We can share a bed without it being weird. Are you sure? Naomi busied herself checking the windows, making sure the curtains were closed tight. I'm sure. Now I'm going to walk to that gas station we passed. Get some food, stay here. Don't open the door for anyone. Naomi, I'll be fine. I'm nobody. Just another woman buying chips and soda. She grabbed Mrs. Keller's money. Lock the door behind me. The gas station was small and bright and smelled like hot dogs that had been rotating under heat lamps for too long. Naomi bought sandwiches, water, some candy bars. The cashier never looked up from his phone. Walking back, the evening air was cool and pleasant. Stars were starting to appear. For just a moment, Naomi let herself pretend everything was normal. Just a woman walking home after buying snacks. No danger, no hiding. No millionaire with feelings in a cheap motel room. That's when she saw the TV through the gas station window. She'd walked past it on her way out, but now something made her stop, made her look. The news was on, and there, filling the screen, was a woman, beautiful, blonde, crying delicately into a tissue. The caption read, "Lena Ward, fiancée of missing millionaire Ethan Ward." Naomi moved closer to the window. The sound was off, but she could read the ticker at the bottom. Desperate search continues for local developer. No leads in mysterious disappearance. Fiancé makes emotional plea. The woman on screen looked directly at the camera. Her eyes were red. Her lip trembled. She looked devastated, broken. She looked like a liar. Naomi's hands tightened on the plastic bag. This woman, this beautiful, crying woman, she'd tried to kill Ethan, was probably still trying to kill him. And here she was, playing the grieving fiancé on TV. Rage built in Naomi's chest, hot and righteous. She turned and walked quickly back to the motel, knocked on the door in their pattern. 3 knocks, pause, 2 knocks. Ethan opened it immediately. His face relaxed when he saw her. "Thank God, you were gone so long I started to worry." "Turn on the TV," Naomi said, pushing past him. "Channel 5. He grabbed the remote. The ancient TV flickered to life, static, then color, then Lena. Ethan froze. His face went pale. "Just want him home safe," Lena was saying. Tears rolled down her perfect cheeks. "Ethan, if you're out there, if you can hear me, please come home. Whatever's happened, we'll fix it together. I love you." The reporter's voice cut in. "Ms. Ward, some are speculating that your fiancé might have taken his own life due to business pressures. What do you say to that?" "I refuse to believe it." Lena's voice broke beautifully. "Ethan is strong, a fighter. He wouldn't give up. Someone took him. Someone hurt him. And I won't rest until I find out who." The segment ended. A commercial for car insurance started playing. Ethan stood motionless. His jaw was tight. His hands were fists. "She's good," he said finally. His voice was flat, empty. She always was. Could cry on command. Won 3 school plays that way. "Ethan, she's going to inherit everything. The company, the properties, all of it. She just has to wait 7 years for me to be declared legally dead, or find my body." He laughed, but it was bitter, broken. 7 years of playing the grieving widow. Then she and Marcus can live happily ever after on my money. Naomi set down the groceries, moved to him, put her hand on his arm. "Hey, look at me." He did. His eyes were full of hurt, betrayal, everything he'd been holding back. "She doesn't get to win," Naomi said fiercely. "We're going to stop her, stop both of them. And when we do, the whole world will see who she really is." "You sound so certain." "I am certain, because you've got something they don't." "What's that?" "The truth. And me." Something shifted in Ethan's face. The hardness cracked. He pulled her into a hug, sudden and tight. She wrapped her arms around him and held on. They stood like that for a long moment, just breathing, just being. When they pulled apart, the air between them felt different, charged. "Eat," Naomi said, her voice a little unsteady. "Food helps everything." They sat on the bed and ate gas station sandwiches. They weren't good, but they were food, real food. "Tell me about her," Naomi said. "Lena, how did you meet?" Ethan was quiet for a moment. "Charity gala, 5 years ago. She was beautiful, smart, funny. Everything I thought I wanted." "When did you propose?" "Last year. Big romantic gesture. Rose petals, violin player, the works." He shook his head. "I thought I loved her. Maybe I did in a way, but looking back now, I don't think I ever really knew her, the real her." "How did Marcus fit in?" "He came to work for me about 3 years ago. Former military. Special ops. I needed better security after some threats from a business deal gone wrong. Marcus seemed perfect, loyal, capable. I trusted him with my life. The irony of that statement hung in the air. I'm such an idiot, Ethan said quietly. I surrounded myself with people who told me what I wanted to hear, who smiled and nodded and stabbed me in the back. You're not an idiot. You're human. Humans trust. That's not a weakness. It almost got me killed, but it didn't. You're here, alive, fighting back. Ethan looked at her. Really looked. Because of you. Because you're stronger than you think. Thunder rumbled outside. Fat raindrops started hitting the window. Within minutes, it was pouring. The rain hammered on the thin roof. Lightning flashed bright and sharp. Perfect night for hiding, Naomi said, trying to lighten the mood. Perfect night for a lot of things. Something in his tone made her look at him. He was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Soft, intense, vulnerable. Ethan, I meant what I said this morning, about having feelings for you. Naomi's heart started racing. We shouldn't talk about this. Why not? Because. She stood up, pacing the small room. Because you're running for your life. Because your judgment is probably compromised. Because I'm just the person who happened to be walking by those tracks. When this is over, when you're safe, you'll go back to your world and I'll go back to mine and... Stop. Ethan stood too. You think that's what this is? Gratitude, trauma bonding. Isn't it? No. He moved closer. Not touching her, but close enough that she could feel the heat of him. I've known a lot of people in my life, Naomi. Rich people, powerful people. People who said they cared about me, and not one of them would have done what you did. You risked everything for a stranger, and you keep risking everything. Every day, every hour. That's just who I am. I help people. It's more than that. You're brave and kind and real. So completely real. You don't want anything from me except for me to survive. Do you know how rare that is? Naomi's throat felt tight. You don't know me, not really. I know you sing when you're scared. I know you chew your bottom lip when you're thinking. I know you put everyone else first and yourself last. I know you're the strongest person I've ever met. Lightning flashed. In the brief brightness, she saw his face clearly. Honest, open, full of something that made her chest ache. This is crazy, she whispered. I know. We barely know each other. I know. People are trying to kill us. I know. He smiled slightly. But knowing all that doesn't change how I feel. The thunder came, loud enough to shake the windows. Naomi made a decision. Maybe stupid, maybe perfect, maybe both. She closed the distance between them, put her hand on his cheek. His skin was warm, rough with stubble. Real. When this is over, she said softly. When we're safe. When your life is back together. If you still feel this way, ask me again. I will, he promised. I will. They stood close, not kissing, not quite, just breathing the same air, sharing the same moment. Then Naomi stepped back. We should sleep. Long day tomorrow. They lay down on the bed, back to back, careful not to touch. But Naomi could feel him there, warm and alive and close. Sleep came slowly. The rain drummed on. Thunder rolled, and Naomi lay awake, thinking about feelings and danger, and how sometimes the two were the same thing. The sound woke her. Soft, barely there, but wrong. Naomi's eyes snapped open. The room was dark. The rain had stopped. The digital clock on the nightstand said 2:47 a.m. There it was again, a scraping sound. At the window. Ethan was awake too. She felt him tense beside her. Do you hear that? She breathed. Yes. They lay frozen, listening. A shadow passed across the window, blocking out the faint light from the parking lot. Someone was out there. Ethan's hand found hers under the covers. He squeezed once. Then he moved, slow and silent, rolling out of bed, grabbing his shoes. Naomi followed. Her heart pounded so loud she was sure whoever was outside could hear it. The shadow moved again, toward the door. They had seconds, maybe less. Ethan grabbed their bag. Naomi grabbed her shoes. They moved to the bathroom window, small, high up, but big enough. Ethan boosted Naomi up first. She squeezed through, landing in the mud behind the motel. He came after, moving fast despite his healing injuries. They heard the motel room door crash open behind them. Go! Ethan hissed. They ran into the darkness. Behind them, voices shouted, They're gone! Check outside! Find them! Naomi and Ethan ran across the parking lot, past the gas station, into the fields beyond. The ground was wet from rain, slippery. Naomi's feet kept sliding, but she didn't slow down. Behind them, flashlight beams cut through the darkness, searching, hunting. "There!" someone yelled. Gunshots cracked through the night, loud, sharp, terrifying. Naomi screamed. Ethan grabbed her hand and pulled her toward a line of trees. More shots, closer this time. They crashed into the forest. Branches whipped their faces. Roots tried to trip them, but they kept moving. The voices faded behind them, but not far enough, never far enough. They ran until Naomi's lungs burned, until her legs shook, until she couldn't run anymore. They collapsed behind a fallen tree, both gasping, both terrified. "How did they find us?" Naomi panted. "I don't know. We were so careful. We can't keep doing this. Running, barely escaping. Eventually our luck runs out." Ethan grabbed her shoulders. "Then we change the game. No more running. We fight back." "How?" "I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out." He pulled her close. Together. Naomi rested her forehead against his shoulder. She was so tired, so scared, but she wasn't alone. That had to count for something. Dawn came slowly, grey and cold. They were still in the woods, huddled together for warmth. "There's a chapel," Naomi said suddenly. "Old one. About 2 miles east. Nobody uses it anymore. We could hide there. Rest. Think. Lead the way." They walked through the morning woods. The world was waking up around them. Birds singing, sunlight breaking through the trees. It should have been beautiful, but all Naomi felt was fear. The chapel appeared like a ghost, white paint peeling, steeple crooked, but the door opened when Ethan pushed it. Inside it smelled like dust and old hymns. Pews lined the small space. An altar stood at the front, simple and worn. Colored light filtered through the stained glass windows. "It's perfect," Ethan breathed. They collapsed onto the front pew, exhausted, filthy, alive. Naomi looked around at the quiet space. Her mama used to bring her to church every Sunday. She'd sing so loud the whole congregation could hear. She had a voice like an angel, everyone said. Without thinking, Naomi started humming, an old hymn, one her mama loved. The sound filled the small chapel, soft and sweet and sad. Ethan watched her, his eyes full of something she didn't want to name. When she finished, silence settled over them like a blanket. "That was beautiful," Ethan said quietly. "My mama's favorite song. She'd be proud of you, of everything you're doing." Naomi's eyes burned with tears she wouldn't let fall. "I hope so." They sat in the quiet chapel as morning turned to afternoon, neither wanting to move, neither ready to face what came next. Eventually exhaustion won. They lay down on the pew, cramped and uncomfortable. Ethan's arm was a pillow, his other arm draped protectively over her. "We'll figure this out," he murmured against her hair. "Promise?" "Promise." Naomi closed her eyes. Let herself feel safe for just a moment. Let herself imagine a future where they weren't running, where they could just be. It was a nice dream. She held on to it as sleep pulled her under. The smell of smoke woke her. Naomi's eyes flew open. The chapel was filled with grey haze. Her lungs burned. "Ethan!" She shook him. "Ethan, wake up!" He jerked awake, saw the smoke. His face went pale. "Fire," he said. They scrambled up. The smoke was thicker near the back of the chapel, coming from outside. Ethan ran to the door, tried to open it. It wouldn't budge. "It's blocked," he said. From the outside, horror washed over Naomi. "They found us. They're burning us out." "The windows." Ethan grabbed a pew, swung it at the nearest window. The old glass shattered. Fresh air rushed in, but so did more smoke. The fire was all around the building. "We have to jump," Naomi yelled over the roar of flames. They climbed onto the windowsill. The drop was 8 feet. Fire licked at the walls below. "On 3, Ethan said. 1, 2, 3. They jumped together. Naomi hit the ground hard. Pain shot through her ankle. Ethan landed beside her, rolling to absorb the impact. The chapel was engulfed now, flames reaching toward the sky. Heat blasted their faces. "Run!" Ethan pulled her up. They ran through the smoke, past the flames, into the woods. Behind them, the chapel's steeple collapsed with a groan. Embers flew into the air like angry fireflies. They didn't stop running until they reached the river, the same river where Naomi had saved Ethan what felt like a lifetime ago. They collapsed on the bank, coughing, gasping, covered in soot and ash. Naomi started to cry. She couldn't help it. Everything hit her at once. The fear, the exhaustion, the relentless chase. "I can't do this anymore," she sobbed. "I can't. I'm so tired." "Hey," Ethan pulled her close. "Hey, it's okay. You're okay." We're going to die. They're going to kill us and— No! His hands cradled her face, made her look at him. No, you're not going to die. I won't let that happen. You hear me? His eyes were fierce, determined, full of something that took her breath away. You saved me, he said softly. On those tracks, you saved my life. Now it's my turn. I'm going to keep you safe, no matter what. Ethan, he kissed her, soft, tender, tasting like smoke and fear, and something sweet underneath. Naomi froze, then melted. Her hands came up to his chest. His shirt was torn and dirty, but she didn't care. She kissed him back, poured everything into it. All her fear, all her hope, all the feelings she'd been fighting. When they pulled apart, they were both breathing hard. I'm sorry, Ethan said. I know you said to wait until this was over, but don't apologize. Naomi's voice was shaky. Just don't die, okay? Don't make me regret this. I won't, I promise. He kissed her again, slower this time, sweeter, and for just a moment, the world wasn't on fire. There was no danger, no fear, just them, just this. A voice shattered the moment. Naomi! They jerked apart, spun around. A man stood at the edge of the trees, tall, broad, angry. Naomi's heart sank. Daniel, her brother, stalked toward them. His face was thunderous. In his hand was a wrench from his auto shop. He looked ready to use it. Get away from my sister, Daniel growled at Ethan. Daniel, wait. I've been looking for you for 3 days. Daniel's voice shook. 3 days. And I finally track you down and find you with this. He needs help, Naomi said quickly. His name is Ethan and people are trying to kill him. I don't care. Get away from him before I make you. Ethan raised his hands, stepped back. I understand you're upset. You understand nothing. Daniel's grip tightened on the wrench. You've dragged my sister into God knows what. She's all I have left and you— He didn't drag me, Naomi said firmly. I chose to help him. This is my choice, Daniel. It's a stupid choice. Maybe, but it's mine. Brother and sister stared at each other. Years of history passed between them. Arguments and reconciliations, love and frustration, family. Finally, Daniel lowered the wrench. Tell me everything, and it better be good. So they did. Standing by the river, covered in ash, they told him everything. The tracks, the rescue, the chase, Marcus and Lena, the fire. When they finished, Daniel was quiet for a long moment. You're in deep, he said finally. I know. And you're not going to walk away. I can't. Daniel looked at Ethan. Really looked. You love my sister? The question caught everyone off guard. Ethan didn't hesitate. Yes. Naomi's heart skipped. Daniel studied him, then nodded slowly. Okay, then I'm in too. Family protects family, and if Naomi says you're worth it— He extended his hand. I trust her judgment. Ethan shook it. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We're all probably going to die. Daniel! Naomi smacked his arm. What? I'm being realistic. Despite everything, they all smiled. Just a little. Then they heard it. Distant but distinct. A gunshot. The smile died on Naomi's face. They're coming. Then we move, Daniel said. Now. The 3 of them ran into the woods. Together this time. And for the first time in days, Naomi felt something other than fear. She felt hope. They ran through the woods with Daniel leading the way. He knew different paths than Naomi. Shortcuts through territory she'd never explored. Where are we going? Ethan asked, breathing hard. My shop, Daniel said. It's on the old industrial road. Nobody goes there at night. We can regroup. They ran for what felt like hours, but was probably only 20 minutes. The auto shop appeared through the trees like a mirage. A squat building with peeling blue paint and a hand-painted sign that said, Clark's Auto Repair. Daniel unlocked the bay door and they slipped inside. The smell of motor oil and old tires filled the air. Cars in various states of repair sat on lifts and in corners. Stay here, Daniel said. I'll get supplies. He disappeared into the back office. Naomi and Ethan stood in the dim light, catching their breath. Your brother seems nice, Ethan said dryly. In a might murder me with a wrench kind of way. Naomi laughed despite everything. He's protective. Our daddy left when I was 2. Daniel had to be the man of the house at 8 years old. He takes it seriously. I would too if I had a sister like you. Before she could respond, Daniel came back with water bottles, a first aid kit and a map. Okay, he said, spreading the map on the hood of a Honda. We need a plan, and keep running isn't a plan. Agreed, Ethan said. He leaned over the map. My office is here, downtown. There's a safe in my private room. Documents inside that prove Marcus and Lena were embezzling. Bank records, forged signatures, everything. They'll be watching it, Naomi said. I know, but it's our only shot. Without proof, it's my word against theirs, and I'm the one who's supposed to be dead. Daniel traced a route on the map. There's an old service entrance, used to deliver supplies back in the day. Most people forget it exists. Can you get us there? I can. But then what? You walk in, grab the documents, and walk out. They'll have security. Not my security anymore. Marcus fired my people, replaced them with his own. So they'll definitely be looking for you. Ethan straightened up. His jaw was set, determined. Then I go alone, create a distraction. You two stay here where it's safe. No, Naomi said immediately. Naomi, I said no. We do this together or not at all. She's right, Daniel said. You need lookouts, someone to watch the exits, someone to get you out if things go wrong. Ethan looked between them, brother and sister, united. Okay, he said finally. Together. They planned for 2 hours, going over every detail, every possibility. Daniel contributed a police scanner from his office. He used it to know when there were accidents that might need towing. The scanner crackled with normal night chatter, traffic stops, noise complaints. Nothing about them. We should go now, Ethan said, before Marcus expects us to make a move. Now? Naomi's heart jumped. It's the middle of the night. Exactly. Skeleton crew. Best chance we'll get. Daniel grabbed his keys. Let's do this before I change my mind. They took Daniel's truck. An old Ford that had seen better days but ran like a dream. He drove with the headlights off until they hit the main road. The city appeared in the distance, lights against the dark sky. Naomi had always thought it looked beautiful from far away. Up close, she knew it was different, harsh, cold. They parked 3 blocks from Ethan's office building, a tower of glass and steel that seemed to touch the clouds. Impressive, Daniel muttered. It was, Ethan said quietly. Once. They walked through back alleys to the service entrance. It was exactly where Daniel said it would be. A metal door, rusty and forgotten. Ethan tried the handle. Locked. Daniel pulled out his tools. Let me work. He picked the lock in under a minute. The door swung open with a groan. Inside was a concrete corridor. Dim emergency lights provided barely enough illumination to see. Cameras, Naomi whispered. Ethan shook his head. Not back here. This part of the building is ancient. They never upgraded it. They crept through the corridor, up a service stairwell. The building was quiet, empty. Their footsteps echoed too loud. On the 15th floor, Ethan stopped. My office is down this hall, 3rd door on the left. Security? Daniel asked. Probably 1 guard at the front desk, maybe another roaming. My office should be clear. Should be? It's the best I can do. They moved down the hallway. Plush carpet muffled their steps now. Everything was expensive, tasteful, the kind of wealth that whispered instead of shouted. Ethan's office door had his name on it in gold letters. The sight seemed to pain him. The door was unlocked. They slipped inside. It was huge, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a desk the size of a small car, leather chairs, art on the walls. This is your office? Naomi breathed. Was. Ethan moved to the wall behind his desk, pressed a hidden panel. It swung open, revealing a safe. His fingers flew over the keypad. The safe clicked open. Inside were stacks of documents, flash drives, photographs. Got it, Ethan said, loading everything into a bag Daniel had brought. That's when they heard voices in the hallway. Everyone froze. Check his office again. Marcus wants to be thorough. We've checked it 5 times. Then we check it 6 times. Move. Footsteps approached. Close. Too close. The windows, Naomi whispered frantically. We're 15 floors up. The fire escape. I saw it outside. They ran to the window. Ethan struggled with the latch. It was painted shut. The office door started to open. Daniel grabbed a paperweight and smashed the window. Glass exploded outward. An alarm started shrieking. Go! Daniel shouted. They climbed through onto the fire escape. The metal was old and rusty. It groaned under their weight. Behind them, shouts. They're here! On the fire escape! They clambered down. The ladder shook with each step. Naomi's hands slipped on the rain-wet metal. She caught herself, kept moving. Gunshots rang out. Bullets pinged off the metal railings. Faster! Ethan yelled. They reached the ground and ran. Behind them, men poured out of the building. Daniel's truck was 3 blocks away. It might as well have been 3 miles. They sprinted through alleys, over fences, past dumpsters and loading docks. Naomi's lungs burned. Her ankle, the one she'd hurt jumping from the chapel, screamed in protest. But she kept running. They were almost to the truck when headlights flooded the alley. A black SUV blocked their path. Marcus stepped out. Even in the darkness, Naomi recognized him from Ethan's description. Tall, broad, cold eyes. He looked like a man who'd seen violence and wasn't bothered by it. "Ethan," Marcus said, his voice smooth, "you've been very difficult to kill." Ethan stepped in front of Naomi and Daniel. "Let them go, Marcus. This is between us." "Is it? Because the way I see it, they're witnesses. Loose ends. And I don't leave loose ends." More men appeared behind Marcus, 5 of them, all armed. They were surrounded. "The bag," Marcus said. "Give it to me. So you can destroy the evidence?" "Not a chance." Marcus smiled. It was the coldest thing Naomi had ever seen. "I was hoping you'd say that." He nodded to his men. They surged forward. What happened next was chaos. Daniel swung at the nearest man, connecting with his jaw. Naomi grabbed a trash can lid and used it like a shield. Ethan fought like a man with nothing to lose. But there were too many. They were outnumbered and outgunned. A blow caught Ethan in the stomach. He doubled over. Another hit sent Daniel sprawling. "Stop!" Naomi screamed. "Please, stop!" Marcus grabbed Ethan by the hair, pulled his head back. "You should have stayed dead, old friend." He punched Ethan hard. Once, twice. Ethan collapsed. "Ethan!" Naomi tried to reach him, but arms held her back. "Load him in the truck," Marcus ordered. "We'll finish this properly this time." "What about them?" One of the men gestured to Naomi and Daniel. Marcus considered. "Bring them too. 3 bodies are as easy to dispose of as 1. Terror flooded through Naomi. This was it. This was how they died. But then Daniel, still on the ground, grabbed something from his pocket. His phone. He pressed it once and dropped it, hidden under a newspaper. Marcus's men dragged them to the SUV, threw them in the back. Ethan was unconscious. Blood trickled from his mouth. "Ethan," Naomi whispered, cradling his head. "Please wake up, please." He didn't respond. The SUV drove through the empty streets. Marcus sat in the passenger seat, relaxed, like this was just another Tuesday. "Where are you taking us?" Daniel demanded. Marcus glanced back. "Somewhere poetic. Full circle, you might say." Naomi's blood ran cold. She knew exactly where they were going. The train tracks. They drove for 30 minutes. The city gave way to countryside. The same roads Naomi walked every day, home, except now it felt like a nightmare. The SUV stopped. Marcus's men dragged them out. There were the tracks, gleaming in the moonlight, silent, waiting. "No," Naomi breathed. "Please, no. It's fitting," Marcus said. "Where it started, where it ends." They tied Ethan to the tracks, same as before, arms and legs. Only this time he was unconscious, couldn't fight back. "You're monsters," Naomi said. Tears streamed down her face. "All of you." "We're practical," Marcus corrected. "In my line of work you can't afford sentimentality." He checked his watch. "Train comes through in 10 minutes. Right on schedule." "Why us?" Daniel asked. He was tied up too, sitting against a rail post. "We didn't do anything to you. Wrong place, wrong time. Story of life." Marcus's phone rang. He answered it. "Yes? Good. No. It's handled. Tell Lena everything's on schedule." He hung up. Naomi's mind raced. There had to be a way out, there had to be. But the ropes were too tight. Marcus's men stood guard. They had guns. She had nothing. Ethan groaned. His eyes fluttered open. "Welcome back," Marcus said cheerfully. "Just in time for the finale." Ethan saw where he was, saw the tracks. Horror flooded his face. "Naomi." "I'm here," she called. "I'm okay." "Touching," Marcus said. "Really. Almost makes me feel bad. Almost." In the distance, a sound, low, rumbling. The train. "Right on time," Marcus said. He turned to his men. "Let's go. I don't want to watch this part." They started walking back to the SUV. Naomi struggled against her bonds. "Daniel, can you get free?" "Working on it." Daniel twisted his wrists. Blood appeared where the rope cut into skin. The train whistle blew, closer now. "Naomi!" Ethan's voice was calm. Too calm. "I need you to know something. Don't you dare say goodbye. I love you. I know it's fast. I know it's crazy. But I do. I love you." Tears blurred her vision. "I love you too, which is why we're not dying here, Daniel." Almost got it. The train appeared around the bend. Massive. Unstoppable. Daniel's rope snapped. His hands came free. He grabbed the knife from his pocket, the one Marcus's men hadn't found, and ran to Naomi. He cut her loose. "Get Ethan!" Naomi stumbled to the tracks. Her hands shook so badly, she could barely hold the knife. She sawed at the rope on Ethan's right wrist. The train bore down, horn blaring, so loud it drowned out everything. The rope gave way, one hand free. She moved to his left wrist. The train was right there, right there. "Naomi, run!" Ethan shouted. "Shut up!" She sawed frantically. The rope snapped. She moved to his feet. Daniel helped, both of them working together. The train was seconds away. The ground shook. The air vibrated. The last rope broke. They hauled Ethan off the tracks and dove away just as the train screamed past. But this time, they were ready. Naomi had grabbed something from her pocket. The flare gun Mrs. Keller had given her days ago. Just in case, the older woman had said. She aimed it at the SUV where Marcus and his men were getting ready to leave. More specifically, at the gas can strapped to the back. "Hey, Marcus!" she shouted. He turned, saw her, saw the flare gun. His eyes went wide. She fired. The flare hit the gas can. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the world exploded. The SUV went up in a ball of flame. The blast knocked everyone off their feet. Heat washed over them like a wave. Marcus and his men scattered, some on fire, some just running, all of them done. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. "The police," Daniel said. "I called them when we were in the alley. Left the line open, they heard everything." Police cars screeched to a stop. Officers poured out, guns drawn. "Hands up! Everyone hands up!" Naomi raised her hands. So did Daniel and Ethan. An older officer approached them. Gruff face, sharp eyes. "Which one of you called this in?" "I did," Daniel said. "I'm Daniel Clark. That's my sister Naomi, and that's Ethan Ward." The officer's eyebrows shot up. "The missing millionaire?" "The nearly murdered millionaire," Ethan corrected. He pointed at Marcus being dragged away by other officers. "That's Marcus Hale. He and my fiancée tried to kill me, twice. There's evidence in that bag." He gestured to the bag Daniel still held. "Bank records, proof of embezzlement, everything you need." The officer, his name tag said Briggs, looked skeptical. "That's quite a story." "It's the truth," Naomi said firmly. "Every word." A young woman ran up to Briggs, early 20s, with the same sharp eyes. "Dad, I found this in Marcus's car." She held up documents. "Looks like transfer records, offshore accounts, forged signatures." "This is my daughter Clara," Briggs explained. "She's training to be a detective." Clara looked at them with something like awe. "You guys just took down one of the biggest embezzlement schemes in state history." "We just tried not to die," Naomi said. Briggs's expression softened. "Well, you did good. Real good. Now let's get you folks to the hospital. Then we'll need statements, all of it." "What about Lena?" Ethan asked. "Lena Ward. She was in on it too. Already got cars heading to her location," Briggs said. "Nobody's getting away tonight." They loaded Naomi, Ethan, and Daniel into an ambulance. As the doors closed, Naomi looked back at the tracks one last time. The train was long gone. The fire was being put out. Officers swarmed everywhere. It was over. Really, truly over. She started to laugh, or maybe cry. She wasn't sure which. Ethan pulled her close. "We did it. We did it," she echoed. Daniel grinned despite his split lip. "We're going to be famous. This is going to be all over the news." He was right. By morning, the story was everywhere. Local maid saves millionaire, twice. Embezzlement scheme foiled by unlikely hero. Love story turns to action thriller. They stayed in the hospital for 2 days. Ethan's injuries needed attention. Naomi's ankle needed wrapping. Daniel's hands needed stitches where the ropes had cut. But they were alive. Detective Briggs visited on the second day. Marcus is talking, giving up everything. Lena, too, trying to make a deal. They're both going away for a long time. "Good," Ethan said quietly. "There's something else." Briggs pulled out a newspaper, front page. "You're a hero, Mr. Ward, and so is Ms. Clark. The mayor wants to give you both commendations." Naomi laughed. "I don't need a medal. I just want to go home." "What is home now?" Ethan asked softly, looking at her. It was a good question. 3 weeks later, Naomi stood on the porch of her small house, the one she'd grown up in, the one that held all her memories. Inside, Daniel was packing. He'd gotten a job offer in the city. Better pay, better opportunities. Things were looking up for both of them. Ethan had offered them money, a lot of money. Daniel had accepted. He needed it to expand his business. Naomi had refused. "I don't want your money," she'd told Ethan in the hospital. "That's not why I saved you." "I know, but let me help anyway, please." In the end, she'd accepted a small amount, enough to pay off her mama's medical bills. enough to breathe a little easier, but not more than that. Ethan was staying at a hotel in town, recovering, dealing with lawyers and accountants and the mess Marcus and Lena had left behind. His company was in shambles but salvageable. They'd seen each other every day, coffee at the diner, walks through town, long talks about everything and nothing, but they hadn't talked about the future, their future. Naomi wasn't sure there was one. He was a millionaire. She was a maid. That wasn't a fairy tale. That was reality. A car pulled up. Expensive. Black. Ethan climbed out. He'd been to the city for meetings all week. This was the first time she'd seen him in days. He looked good, better. The bruises had faded. He moved without pain now. He wore a nice suit, but carried himself differently than before. Less arrogant, more humble. "Hi," he said, climbing the porch steps. "Hi." They stood awkwardly, like strangers, like they hadn't survived death together. "How were the meetings?" Naomi asked. "Productive. I'm selling the company." She blinked. "What? I don't want it anymore, that world, those people. I built something on greed and ambition and it nearly killed me. Literally." He smiled slightly. "I'm selling it all. Starting over. Starting over as what? I don't know yet. Something simple. Something real. Maybe I'll learn to fix cars. Your brother said he might need help." Naomi laughed despite herself. "You? Fixing cars? Why not? I'm a quick learner." They fell silent. The afternoon sun painted everything golden, warm, perfect. "I'm leaving," Ethan said finally. "Not forever, just for a while. I need to tie up loose ends, deal with the lawyers, make sure Marcus and Lena stay buried." "I understand, but I'm coming back, to this town, to you, if you'll have me." Naomi's heart started racing. "Ethan, I meant what I said on those tracks. I love you. And I know it's crazy. I know we barely know each other. But I also know I don't want to live without you. You're the realest thing that's ever happened to me. We're from different worlds." "No, we're from the same world. We just forgot for a while." He stepped closer. "I'm not asking you to give up your life. I'm asking if I can be part of it, however that looks, whatever that means." Tears pricked Naomi's eyes. "You really mean that?" "Every word. You saved my life, Naomi Clark. Now let me spend the rest of it proving I'm worth saving." She thought about her mama, about what she would say, about the advice she'd whispered on her deathbed. "Don't settle for anything less than real love, baby girl. Real love is worth fighting for." This was real, scary and uncertain and completely real. "Okay," Naomi said. "Okay? Okay, come back. We'll figure it out together." Ethan's smile was like sunrise. He pulled her close and kissed her, soft and sweet and full of promise. Daniel stuck his head out the door. "You two done being all romantic? Because I need help carrying this couch." They broke apart, laughing. "Come on," Naomi said, grabbing Ethan's hand. "Let's help my brother. Consider it your first lesson in real work." "Yes, ma'am." 6 months later, Naomi walked along the old railway tracks. The same ones where everything started, the same ones where everything almost ended. Beside her, Ethan carried a basket of wildflowers, yellow and purple and white. Simple, beautiful. They'd become a fixture in town. The millionaire who gave it all up. The maid who saved his life. People whispered. People gossiped. But mostly people smiled when they saw them together. Ethan had kept his word. He'd sold his company, paid back everyone Marcus and Lena had stolen from, kept enough to live on, but gave most of it away. Now he worked at Daniel's auto shop, learned to change oil and replace brake pads. His hands were calloused now. He wore jeans instead of suits. He was happy. Naomi still cleaned houses, still waited tables at the diner, but now she did it because she wanted to, not because she had to. Ethan had made sure of that. They reached the spot, the exact place where she'd first found him tied to the tracks. Someone had placed a small marker there, a local artist. It said, "Where fear met courage, where death met life, where two souls met each other." Naomi laid the flowers at the base. "Feels like a lifetime ago. Feels like yesterday," Ethan said. He pulled her close. "Thank you. Again. Always." "You don't have to keep thanking me." "Yes, I do, every day for the rest of my life." A train whistle sounded in the distance. They watched as a freight train appeared around the bend, the same kind that had almost killed Ethan twice. But this time they stood back, safe, together, watching it pass. When the train was gone, Ethan got down on one knee. Naomi's breath caught. "What are you doing?" "Something I should have done months ago." He pulled out a ring. Simple silver band with a small diamond. Nothing flashy, nothing ostentatious, just real. Naomi Clark, you saved my life, you changed my life, you are my life. Will you marry me? Tears streamed down her face. Happy tears this time. Yes, yes, of course yes. He slipped the ring on her finger, stood up, kissed her while the sun set behind them and the tracks gleamed in the fading light. No more running, Naomi whispered against his lips. No more running, Ethan agreed. Just living. Together, they walked away from the tracks hand in hand, toward town, toward home, toward their future. Behind them, the tracks stretched empty and silent. No more danger, no more fear. Just memories of how love can bloom in the darkest places. Just the story of a maid and a millionaire who found each other when they needed it most. Just the beginning of forever. The wildflowers swayed in the evening breeze. The sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink and gold. Somewhere in the distance a bird sang, and Naomi Clark smiled. Because sometimes the right thing leads to the best thing. Because sometimes saving someone else means saving yourself. Because sometimes love is the only miracle you need. The end.